Hello everyone, I'm Sarah and welcome to my crochet channel, or welcome back. What we're going to do today is we're going to update our dog snood pattern. This is a basic dog snood pattern that has a couple of pom-poms and it is striped. Now I originally wrote this pattern about 7 years ago during one of the Super Bowls. I don't remember which one, but I did it in the striped colors of the Super Bowl teams of that year. Well, I had a friend ask me if I would update the pattern since it's starting to get cool so she could make a bunch for her puppies. And I said, well, that's a really good idea because I haven't done this particular pattern in a lot of years. And what we did is we updated the pattern. And instead of having you measure and adjust it, although you can do it that way, we wrote out all the stitch counts for sizes extra small through extra large. And so that's going to make it a lot easier for you to adjust the pattern for your dog. Measuring your dog's neck and length is still very important. It'll help you determine what size to make for your dog. But it's also important to remember that a 5-pound Chihuahua is going to be shaped a little different than, say, a 5-pound Bulldog, because the Bulldog's going to have a thicker neck and the Chihuahua's going to have a smaller head. So we're going to keep that in mind as we make this snood. Now you can find the written pattern with a bunch of pictures and information on sizing and adjusting on the blog. And as always, I'll place that blog link down in those notes underneath this video in that description box. To make your dog a snood, you're going to need some medium weight number 4 acrylic yarns. This one is all made in Vanna's Choice. This is melon and lemon yellow and just white. And I wanted it just to be basic colors, not for any holiday or sports team, but of course you can do that. And what I'm going to do for our demonstration today is use this ivory for the trim, and then I'm going to stripe it with this bright spring green and this red tweed. It'll have a Christmas flair to it. But you can use whatever medium weight number 4 yarns that you have on hand. One thing to keep in mind, depending on the size that you're making, depends on how much yarn you're going to need. This one doesn't even have a total of 3 ounces in it, and this is one that will fit my Maximo. He has a 10-inch neck, and we'll talk about sizing in just a second. So it's a good idea to get in your yarn stash and come up with some fun colors. Another thing to remember is even though I striped mine, you don't have to. You can do it all in a solid. You could do a solid in here or a variegated, ombre, whatever yarns you have just laying around your house. You can make some really cute dog snoods for your dogs. One of the things you do need, of course, is your tape measure, because you're going to want to measure their neck and their length. And we'll talk about that in just a second as well. We're going to be stitching up our dog snood with our eye hook, which is a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. You're also going to need a needle for weaving in ends. You're also going to need a good pair of scissors to cut your pom-poms, and I'll show you how to make a pom-pom at the end of the video. Before we begin our snood, it's a really good idea to measure your dog's neck loosely. My dog's necks measure about 9 inches, so I'm going to make a 10-inch snood. And it's also good to measure from about the back of their ears to the length down their back that you want this snood to fit. And remember, it can gunch up a little bit. That's okay. It'll keep them warm, but you don't want it to come too far down because it'll get in the way of their arms. All right. And we can determine all of this as we go along, as well as the sizes that are already there. I'm going to give you all of that as we move along in the video. That way you can adjust as needed. So take just a second, measure their neck and their length you want to make your snood. So before we get started, you need to determine what size you want to make. If your dog has an 8-inch neck, that's an extra small. If your dog has a 10-inch neck, that's a small. A medium is a 12-inch, a large is a 14-inch, an extra large is a 16-inch, And then the extra, extra large is an 18-inch dog neck. And so to make the dog snood the size that we need for our dog's neck, you need to chain the appropriate amount of chains. All right, so if you're going to make the extra small, you need to chain 24 chains. If you're going to make the small, you need to chain 30. If you're going to make the medium, you'll need to chain 36 chains. The large, 42. The extra large, 48. And then the extra, extra large, 54 chains. So what I suggest that you do is you choose which size you want to make your chain, and then gently put it on your dog's neck to see if that's going to work. We need it to be stretchy so we can slide it over the dog's neck. Now I'm going to be making the small size, so I'm going to chain 30 chains. So I'll start with my slip knot, and I will loosely chain 30 chains. It's a good idea to chain this beginning chain just a little bit loose so it's not too tight. So since I'm making the small size, I'm going to chain 30 chains. I have chained my 30 chains a little bit loose. We're going to join this into a circle without twisting. We'll take our hook and join it to the first chain with a slip stitch and chain 3. Now you can slip this over your dog's head. See how it's going to stretch and fit around their neck to make sure that it's going to fit. And if it doesn't fit, you can go up or down a size without, having to rework it in the middle of the project, okay? All right, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of our chains around. And one thing also to remember is the stitch count is going to remain the same as the amount of chains that you chained for your project. So if you chained 30 chains like I did, every one of my rows is going to have 30 stitches because we're not going to be increasing or decreasing at all. We're basically stitching a tube we can slide over our dog's head to help keep their ears warm. So what I'm doing is stitching 1 double crochet in each of those 30 chains around. And remember, the chain 3 that we did at the first counts as our first double crochet. 1 double crochet in each chain around, and then we'll join back to our chain 3. I have stitched a double crochet in each of my chains around. I'm going to join to the chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 2. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to alternate double crochet, working in the front post or front post double crochet, and then half double crochet around. We chain 2. The chain 2 counts as a half double crochet. Now we're going to double crochet in the front post, and that is this portion of the stitch. We're going to go around here instead of stitching up here. We're still stitching a double crochet. We're just placing it in a different place. Now we're going to half double crochet in the next stitch. Go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3 loops. Now we'll double crochet in the front post or front post double crochet in the next stitch, and then half double crochet in the next. And we'll alternate this, working all the way around this row. Front post double crochet in the next stitch, and then half double crochet in the next. This is what's going to give us that nice ridged edge for the band. and that will help make it nice and stretchy and also lay really pretty. So half double crochet in the next, and front post double crochet in the next, alternating those stitches, working all the way around our band. I've completed that row, stitching front post double crochet, half double crochet, alternating all the way around. We're going to join to our chain 2 with a slip stitch. We're not going to chain 2 or 3 or anything. We're just going to cut our yarn because we're going to change colors. I'm going to bring in this bright green. And we'll weave those in later, of course. And something that I do is I do what's called a little stay knot. I just go like this, and that just helps it stay put, and it helps with tension. All right, so we're going to chain 2, counts as a half double crochet, and we're going to stitch 1 half double crochet in each of our stitches, working all the way around this row. The half double crochet is a really good stitch for this because it's a little bit more of a compact stitch, so it's going to be just a little bit warmer for our dogs. All right, so I'm just stitching 1 half double crochet in each of the stitches, working all the way around this row. We'll join back to our chain 2. I have stitched a half double crochet in each of those stitches around. I'm going to join to my chain 2, and I'm going to chain 2 because I'm not going to change colors. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to repeat what we just did. We're going to stitch 1 half double crochet in each of those stitches, working all the way around. And again, this is just going to make a nice compact stitch so that it's nice and warm for our dogs to wear and keep their ears warm. So again, I'm just stitching 1 half double crochet in each of those stitches all the way around. I stitched that second row of half double crochets. I joined to my chain 2, but I'm not going to cut my yarn. I'm going to bring in my next color because I'm going to stripe my snood every 2 rows. All right, so we'll just leave it on there and we'll change colors every 2 rows and bring our yarn up in the inside. That works nice when you're just doing a couple of rows so that you don't have to weave in all those ends. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and chain 2. We'll snug everything down on the inside just so it stays put. And then what we're going to do is do 2 rows of our half double crochets. There we go. So with my red tweed color here, I'm going to stitch 2 rows of half double crochets just like I did with the green. The whole body portion of our snood is stitched in half double crochets. If you choose not to stripe, which you certainly can, you don't have to stripe it. It's just fun to do stripes. But if you choose not to do stripes, of course, you don't have to change colors, and you can keep doing your half double crochet rows. So I'm going to do 2 rows of half double crochets with my color 3, which is my second striping color. I stitched those 2 rows of my third color, so I have 2 rows of green and 2 rows of red in solid half double crochets. And so now we need to determine the length of our snood for our dog. So if you're making the extra small size, you're going to want to repeat these 4 rows one more time. For the small and medium, you're going to want to repeat those rows 2 more times. And that's all 4 rows 2 more times. If you're making the large to the double X, you're going to want to repeat this 3 or more times. And this is just sort of a standard. If you're doing this for a dog with a much longer neck, you're going to want to do that for more rows. All right? So it's determined by each individual dog. But you need to determine by that measurement that you made how many repeats of row 3, 4, 5, and 6, these 4 rows, that you want to do for your striping. All right? I'm going to repeat it 2 more times. So I have completed those 2 repeats of these 4 rows. So I have 3 rows of green and 3 rows of red. And again, you'll have less rows if you made the smaller size and more rows to make the bigger sizes. But I would take a second, maybe slide it on your dog's neck just to see where it's going to sit. Because we're going to add 2 rows like this down here to sort of bring that in so it has a nice fit. The other thing I wanted to show you is inside, I carried those yarns up so I didn't have to weave those in every time, because we're finished with our striping now. Once you've determined the length that you want, go ahead and cut those yarns off. All right, and then we'll bring back in our white color or whatever color you're using for your trim or band. And we'll bring our white color back in, snug everything down. Make sure I get the right string here. And chain 3. Our chain 3 counts as a double crochet, and now we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of those half double crochets around. 1 double crochet in each stitch. Working all the way around, and we'll join back to our chain 3. I stitched 1 double crochet in each of those half double crochets around. I joined to my chain 3 and chained 2. And now what we're going to do here is repeat what we did down here on this row to form those nice ridges. So our chain 2 counts as a half double crochet, and now we're going to front post double crochet around the next stitch, and then half double crochet in the next, front post double crochet in the next, just like we did on row 2. This is going to pull it in just a little bit and give us a nice stretchy band. Front post double crochet in the next, half double crochet in the next, front post double crochet in the next, half double crochet in the next, and we'll repeat this working all the way around. Then we'll join to our chain 2 and we'll tie off. I have completed the last row stitching those front post double crochets and alternating half double crochets in between. We're going to join to our chain 2 with a slip stitch and tie off. All right, so let's go ahead and pull that to the inside so we get a nice, neat appearance. And this is the way that your snood will look. This is the top by the neck where we started, and this more stretchy edge goes down at the bottom. That way it has a nice fit. Now I have a lot of weaving in to do, and I'm going to take a few minutes and do that, and then I'm going to show you how to make a pom-pom. Now, if your dog is a super chewer and you think he's going or she is going to tear off a pom-pom, don't add it, except maybe for a photo op, and then remove the pom-pom. My dogs are not super chewers, and so I love putting pom-poms on their things. You're going to need a string that's about 10 or 12 inches long. And then we're going to take our yarn and just wrap it around our 4 fingers about 20 times. Now you can use 1 color, 2 colors, 3 colors, whatever colors that you want for your pom-pom. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, oops, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Now this is going to make a little bit of a floofy pom-pom. If you want it thicker, add as many wraps around your hand as you want to. All right, so we're going to cut this. Here's our string. We're going to take our loops and lay it right across that string. Now, if you have a pom-pom maker, oh, by all means, use it. I have a bunch of them and I rarely ever use them. I just like using my fingers, I guess, for making pom-poms. All right, so we're going to tie that nice and tight. Make a couple of knots in there. Make sure that's not coming undone. And you know, if you've watched my videos, you know I like to do 3 or more knots. There we go. All right, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to take this container so I don't make too big of a mess, and I'm going to cut those loops first. And the size of the pom-pom is, of course, up to you. You can make the loops longer or shorter or however length that you want. All right, so now I've got my loops mostly cut. Looks like there's a couple I missed, but it doesn't matter too much. There we go. All right, so now we're going to push all those forward. And we're going to take our good scissors that can cut a lot and just cut that across. And I always kind of go around the edges to kind of round those edges just a smidge. Then we'll shake it out a little bit. And then I'll take a look at it. Kind of flatten it, see if there's anything long sticking out, and kind of trim it. I'm not looking for perfection, I'm just looking for fun. Okay, and again, if you want a fuller pom-pom, do more wraps. All right, so there's my little pom-pom. And we're going to attach the pom-pom up by the neck. And I'm just going to put 1 on this one. I put 2 on the other one. We're going to take our crochet hook. We're going to go through a couple of stitches. Don't go through the holes, go through the stitches and pull one of those strings through. Then I'll go down a couple stitches and do the same thing. Okay, now if you want this to be a removable pom-pom, so you can use it for a photo op, but maybe not everyday use, just tie that knot. We'll try that again. And just tie a bow. And you can slide it on your dog and take some pictures. But my dogs, like I said, are not chewers, and so I'm going to tie a couple of knots so it's going to stay put. And then I'll just clip that. And you can do it that way and then clip that off if you're only want to use it for a photo op. Is totally fine. All right, so this one just has 1 pom-pom, and this one has the 2. And so here's the 2 Snoods, 1 for Maximo, 1 for Rosie. This one kind of has a Halloween-y vibe, or maybe fallish. This one's kind of Christmassy. And so you can see that you can do these in any colors that you want. Do your favorite school teams and take your dog with you to the football game, or your favorite sports teams. And it's just a lot of fun to make. You can whip a bunch of these up and have one for every month of the year, every holiday, whatever you're celebrating, whatever team you're following. Just get in your yarn stash and have fun making some Snoods and keeping your dogs warm.